morning, lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you are well. Can you see the sun? Look how bright it is on the ceiling, and there's light bouncing off the floor at me. Yay, we've got some sunshine, which is great because I need to pop out in a minute. But yeah, I just thought little mini catch up this morning. I'm so happy because do you remember I was saying about that tax cock up I made? Honestly, so annoying, but all for the sake, I think, of ticking one box rather than one other. I think what I need to do today, I'll make a note of this actually, screen grab. Is it called screen grab or screenshot? I never know, but you know what I mean, screen grab of tax form. I think I can open it up, the form I did to, I hope, rectify my mistake. I'm going to get a get a screenshot of that completed form. I might have to do 2 or 3 different shots. And then, and then sort of just have that on in my files so that in 4 years' time, when I have to do it again, I can look at that screenshot and hopefully go, yeah, oh, I know. The thing is, I think I've now done it right because I've just had a refund today. I can't believe it. So do you remember I said that it was nigh on 70 quid of tax they took, and I can't afford to be paying 70 quid tax to the US government, and then, well, I don't get taxed in the UK because I earn far too little. In the UK, tax starts very roughly speaking, it starts after, you can earn about, I think it's about £1,000 a month. And then once you go over 1,000, that's when tax kicks in. It's roughly that. I've got a note of it here somewhere on my pin board, or did I move it? Yeah. Anyway, it's about £1,000 a month, and I never do that. So yeah. Anyway, so I had the refund this morning, which is fantastic. It's literally 7 days since I did that tax form. And at the same time as redoing the form, correcting my mistake, I also ticked the box to say, can you refund me, please? Because that's an erroneous charge. So that's arrived. Woohoo! And what I'm hoping is the fact that that refund has come, I'm hoping that it means that my second attempt at the form means I've done it correctly this time. Fingers crossed. And this goes back to something I've just had it washed. I need some hand cream. I've got my Joanna hand cream. Thank you, Joanna. Joanne, sorry, not Joanna. Yeah, one of my habits, it's the morning right now. One of my habits is in the morning, and I spend about an hour or so. Yeah, it's coming up on an hour right now. Turn the computer on. Answer comments, answer messages, answer emails. But the other thing I do, really importantly, a little bit on the lips. We're getting to that time of year, I'll come back to what I was saying, we're getting to that time of year, aren't we, where we feel dry and flaky. I don't have the central heating on much. I've literally just turned it off actually. I have it on for an hour in the morning. It's quite nice and toasty now, and then another hour in the evening. Although I think, so I've looked at I'll come back to the morning in a second. This is the other thing I've done is I built up some credit with my fuel company. So I pay the same amount every month through the year. But here's my usage. High in the winter, comes down, late spring, summer, early autumn, mid-autumn, late autumn, winter. So all throughout the late spring, summer, early autumn, my energy usage plummets, massively plummets. But because I'm still paying that amount, I build up a credit, great, and then that credit is to use throughout the winter. This spring just gone, I actually ended up not using all that credit. So I asked the fuel company for a refund, thank you. I think it was about 150 quid. Took that refund of my credit and put it into one of my savings accounts. But the point is, subsequently, late spring, all through summer, early autumn, I've built up credit again. So I was looking at, actually at the last 2 years, and I tried to keep my usage below that amount that I pay, and that equates to 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. Fine. I'd like a bit more. So going on the credit I built up in the previous couple of years, and then how I used it in the winter but still had credit left over in the spring, hang on a minute, I don't need to have credit left over in the spring, because I'll be building it up again. Does this all make sense? So the point I'm trying to make is that I worked out that I can probably go for, say, an hour in the morning, because I always feel the chill in the morning. It's that thing of you get out of your nice warm nest and then it's like everything is stiff because, you know, overnight everything stiffens up. It's chilly in the morning. Ooh, horrible. Whack it on for an hour. Great, that does me while I'm doing my routine, which I will get back to. And then I have an hour in the evening, but I'm thinking, well, stick with the hour in the morning, but maybe I can have an hour in the day at some point, especially the sun's just gone in, especially if it's not a sunny day, because on a sunny day, obviously I get a bit of extra help from the sun on my south-facing window. But anyway, maybe an hour in the day, maybe 2 hours in the evening, when, especially if it's after 10 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock tends to be my cut-off of whatever I'm doing, and I say, right, I'm not doing anything else, sofa, book at 10 o'clock. Maybe 2 hours, yay! So I'm going to give that a go. We're just into December, and I thought I can try that through December. So instead of having 2 hours of heat a day, have 4 hours a day. Then when I get my bill or my meter readings at the end of the month, I'll be able to see, okay, that works still within my credit. Obviously with my monthly payment plus using a bit of the credit. And it might even be, I'll assess it this month. In the UK, January and February tend to be our coldest months. So it might be that I think, I can go to 5 hours a day, woohoo, luxury. But I'll save that for January and February. So that's what I'm going to do this month, just try it with 4 hours a day, see how that goes, see if I stay within budget. But what I was mentioning, pardon me, about this morning routine, in a sort of, it takes about an hour pretty much. Comments, emails, messages, etc. But I also check all my bank accounts. And I was mentioning this recently, and I was saying, look, honestly, it's not a faff, but someone got back in touch to say it sounds like a faff to me. The beauty of online banking, everything is at our fingertips. So I can literally run through, I'm with 4 different banks / building society savings places, 4 different accounts, or 4 different businesses that I do business with. So I've got 4 pages to open. So when I'm on my page with one of my banks, I've got 3 different accounts with them. They all show up on the first page. Likewise, so I have myriad accounts, but they're with 4 different businesses. It takes me a couple of minutes to I key in my, all my identification bits, PIN numbers and user numbers and all that stuff to, passwords, the bit that keeps it secure. Type all that in, boom, up comes a page. There are my 3 accounts. And because I do it every day, and this is probably a bit of a frugal habit too, of knowing exactly how much money I've got, pretty much down to the penny, I can literally glance at that page and go, yeah, that's exactly as I expect it to be, based on what I saw yesterday morning and whatever activities I did throughout the day yesterday. In other words, I've checked today and it's the day after all my standing orders get paid for all my various bills. And that's why, as soon as I opened the page, I was expecting to see, in one particular account, I was expecting to see £54. That's for 2 bills towards the end of the month. Most of my bills are on the 1st of the month, so I was expecting to see 54 quid. And I looked and it said 120, what was it, £125. Anyway, it was a peculiar amount. I was like, huh? Why? That's too much money. I've got too much money in my bank account. So at that stage, obviously, then I click on the view transactions and straight away I saw the amount of, I can't remember what it was exactly now, it's £69.18, I think, which was that US tax. And as soon as I saw that sum, that amount, I knew exactly what it was. I've been refunded my tax, hallelujah, brilliant. Doesn't need to be in that account because that's not where it needs to be. So I immediately moved it to a different account. It's gone into my savings. So yeah, it's definitely not a faff. I think this 1 hour in the morning of excuse me, of doing all my admin, it means that, you know, it's my routine. It's a concentrated block of time where I know that I'm going to be dealing with anything that needs to be dealt with. If someone's messaged me with an inquiry, it gets dealt with. I do generally, I'll have another look in the evening. I'm looking there because that's where my computer is. Have another look in the evening just in case an order has come in. And that means during the evening, I can make the parcel up and then the next morning head out to the post office. Just keep on top of everything. So I'm really glad I did all of my usual thing this morning and instantly spotted that anomaly in my numbers. And immediately had a sense of relief that if they've refunded me, presumably that means I've now got it right. Right, don't throw that piece of paper away, Vivi. It says screen grab tax forms. I will do that. What else? Oh, okay, so this is apropos of nothing. The other day, this is bonkers. This is to completely doolally. We're going out in a second, by the way. Get your coat and gloves ready. It's not cold at the moment, but it's chilly. For me, cold is once it goes below 5, especially if there's a bit of a wind. So you've got the wind chill, makes it feel more like, closer to, 0. I think it's about 8 or 9 today. I didn't look at the wind chill, what it feels like. It'll feel colder than that probably. Anyway, this is completely random. I was watching Sunday Chat at the weekend with our lovely Richard and Paul, and they mentioned a TV show that they've been watching. So in their Sunday Chat, at the end of every Sunday Chat, they always talk about what they've been watching on TV, and it's great. We can get some recommendations, also some things they might have dipped into, and they say, nah, but they'll always say why, so you can kind of think, well, actually, I know they didn't like it, but I might like it. But there was one particular programme they mentioned, and as soon as I finished Sunday Chat, I went on my computer to found it, tell you about it in a second. But it's something I've mentioned before, that it's great that we can watch telly for free. I'm going to use my water bottle to top up my mug, so I don't get any complaints. Ridiculous. Yeah, the only thing with watching TV shows online on the hub, the various hubs, well, what's great is they're free. It's free entertainment, yay! But you can't skip the ads. So it's as if you're watching it on the TV. There are ad breaks on the quarter hour, the half hour, the quarter 2 hour, and then on the hour as programmes change. and each little ad break lasts 3.5, 4 minutes. I think that's a great time to get up and do some jumping jacks, or, you know, get up, you make your cup of tea, whatever it is. I never sit still in the adverts. I always get up and do something. I saw, was it an advert? No, it was the tail end of something else. How did this go? I've conflated two different moments in time. I was doing one thing, then I'll come back to that program on the computer. Different occasion, caught the tail end or something of a program, and I'm not quite sure what the program's about, but I think it's like a consumer show. It's stuff you can buy, and, you know, how to spend your money wisely. I think that's the thing. I think it might be called something like shop well, spend less or something. But actually the way to spend less is not buy unnecessary stuff. We've been over this before. Do I really need it? But anyway, the one thing I wanted to mention was a kettle. They were trying out a kettle. And you might think, what to do, so what? You know, we've all got a kettle, haven't we, pretty much? I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was watching this thing and I thought, what is the world coming to? Am I such a troglodyte? I don't know. This kettle was voice controlled. In other words, and I don't want to give them a free advert, and I don't want to mention the name of the gadget, but you know these gadgets people have in their homes, sometimes it's like a little circle disc, sometimes it's like that, and you say to it, we'll call it Sandra. Sandra, put the kettle on. So this gadget, all this Wi-Fi wireless stuff all over your home, you tell the gadget what you want, and then it tells the kettle to turn itself on. Just, I mean, have we got to a stage where we now can't get up from the sofa, walk to the kitchen and put the kettle on? Oh, the sun's come back, do you see? It's lighting me. It's the light of the truth. We can't get up from the sofa and walk to the kitchen to turn the kettle on. We have to shout to a device in the corner of the living room, and the device in the corner of the living room then shouts at the kettle in the kitchen, turn yourself on. Mental. That to me is, it's a form of madness, surely. So my kettle, I've got a stove kettle, a whistling kettle for the stove. I think it cost me, I don't know, about 20 quid, 25, 30 years ago. I can't remember how long ago. It has no parts to it in terms of no electronics. There's no, it's literally just, you know what I'm talking about. It's literally just metal, a metal kettle with a slightly rubber grip and its whistle. Oh, I splashed it last time I was cooking. I need to clean it. I won't show you that side. Blooming filthy. Splash. There's nothing, well, maybe the whistle thing, I suppose, could snap off, break off. But there's nothing on that can break. That will see me through for the rest of my life. 25 quid. This voice-controlled kettle, I watched until they got to the price point, was 60 quid, which I think probably, haven't been kettle shopping for a long time, that might be kind of average-ish. But 60 quid for a kettle, and then you've got to buy the device in your home, the one I just called Sandra, that's not really called Sandra. Forgive me, any Sandras watching. A device, a second device in your living room to talk to the kettle. Maybe that's going to be, surely it's going to be 40 quid or more, I would have thought, for those things. To boil a blooming kettle. What? Now look, I know there's going to be someone out there who says, oh yeah, but what about disabled people? Yeah, I'm sure there may be a tiny, tiny percentage of the population where that is a good application, might be useful. I just think the thing with these gadgets and devices, which is why I'm so... It's not that I'm anti-gadgets. Look, I'm on a gadget now. My camera is a gadget, sort of. My computer I've been working on this morning, that's a gadget. I'm not anti-gadget per se, but you know what? Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm thinking that there's so much that could go wrong with that kettle, or the device that you talk to that controls the kettle. Either one of those two things, something could go wrong with, so you have to replace this. The kettle does not work without the shouty device in the corner of the room. It's madness, it's mad. But also, I don't know this now, so someone might have to tell me. You know what I'm talking about. Sandra in the corner of the room, does she require the internet to work? I think so. I'm pretty certain. Yeah, because you can say things like, Sandra, what time is it? Or, Sandra, what's the weather like? It's like, look out the window. Sandra, look out the window, tell me what the weather is. So to do that, she must be talking to the internet. So, what happens if your internet goes down? Does that mean you can't turn your kettle on? So it's like, I've got no internet, therefore got no entertainment, no TV shows, I'm coming to it in a second. I've got no entertainment, I've got no TV shows, and I can't even make a cup of tea. Am I alone in this? Am I alone in thinking it's absolute madness to have a voice-controlled kettle? Just get up off your lazy backside and flick a switch. For those who are physically able to get up and flick the switch. Anyway, it was a brief moment in time that left me sitting there going, what? What is happening in this world? I don't understand the world I live in anymore. I'm just going to shrink my world to these four walls and human beings. So, but back to that pub walk, that programme I was mentioning that Richard and Paul had mentioned, and it's called, I think, something like Pub Walks with Bill Bailey. Bill Bailey is a really interesting man, actually. We know him sort of mostly for comedy, but he's a musician, collects kind of really weird and wonderful musical instruments, but he's also something of, he's a twitcher, he's a bird watcher, something of an ecologist. He lives, I'm not sure why, he lives in the West Country. He's still got his slight West Country burr in his accent, which is just lovely. So this programme, Pub Walks with Bill Bailey, and each week he does a walk with some celebrity, I hate the word celebrity, but with another person, another recognisable face from TV. I think he's done one with Trevor McDonald, but the one the lads were mentioning and that made me go straight online to watch was the one he did. So it's the Channel 4 hub. So if you go onto your computer and key in Channel 4, it'll bring up the hub. You have to watch anything, you have to register with them, but all that is I think it's just your email and you create a password, and that's it. There's no cost, nothing. And then in the search bar within it, I just put Pub Walks and it came up straight away. So the one I watched was the one he took with Paul Merton, another comedian. Most folk will know him from, he's the regular panellist on Have I Got News For You. Anyway, the point I'm coming to is, the reason I watched that one is because Paul said they start at the Great Globe in Swanage. And the globe it's a massive, I can't remember how many tons it is, but it's a massive piece of Purbeck. I can't remember if it's Purbeck or Portland, because there's a slight difference in the stone in Purbeck and the stone at Portland. It's limestone. It's a massive, massive globe, and it is the world. So it's like, it's globe in shape, but it is the globe, as in you can see the countries on it. It's huge. One of the biggest carved globes in the world. So I watched with interest. It was lovely. It was obviously a lovely summer's day when they were down there. And that whole walk it's kind of like my playground. So they start in Swanage and then they move through Dalston Country Park to Anvil Point Lighthouse, and then on from there past Tillywim Caves all the way down to Dancing Ledge, which I sort of showed you off that cliff in one of my videos. And from there along to Worth Matravers, which is one of the quarrying villages. It's the next village over from my grandparents' village. I'll come on to villages in a second. And one of the things with the walk is it's chat to get to know each other and to just talk a little bit more at a slightly deeper level about feelings and thoughts. Also to appreciate history and nature. So, like I said, Bill's quite a keen twitcher, so obviously seabirds because they're on a coastal path. And then they have pit stops at pubs. So there were three pubs in this episode. I don't know excuse me. It's the only one I've watched. I don't know if there are always 3 pubs. It seems the walk is done over 2 days. So on day 1, they have a lunchtime pub and an evening pub, and on the second day, a lunchtime pub. But I know all 3 pubs that they went to, and they're scattered about. So the first pub is in Worth Matravers. It's called the Square and Compass, as in mason's tools, because it's stone masonry. That's how the guys down there, a lot of them make their living. If they're not farming, they are working with stone. And what's wonderful about the Square and Compass, it's quite bonkers really, the father of the guy who now runs the pub had a collection of fossils. You can walk through fields, a recently ploughed field, find a fossil, walk on the beaches, find a fossil. So now the pub is also a little fossil museum. I mean, it's so gorgeous. It's utterly bonkers as you would expect from a little British pub somewhere. So if you're ever in Dorset, head to, specifically Purbeck, the Isle of Purbeck. Head on down to Worth. There are no buses anymore into Worth. There used to be one a week. There are no buses at all now. So you need to either take the bus to the top road, and then it's about a mile of a walk down into the village, but well worth it. So that was the Square and Compass, and then they carried on from there up over the Purbeck Hills, dropped into the, is it the Scott Arms? I think it's the Scott Arms in Kingston, another teeny tiny village. And then on their final day, they went over to the Banks Arms, which is in Studland, and it's Banks from the Banks family, who were the last people in residence at Corfe Castle. Some of you, I'm sure, have been to Corfe Castle. Anyway, it was an absolute delight to watch. Like I said, it's after London, it's always been my second home, and I'm thinking I need to plan a trip. I need to plan a trip down there soon. Please let me get a trip down. But it also got me thinking about this sort of nomenclature of village, town, city. So, firstly, it got me thinking about populations and all that, how many people, because I know that my grandparents' village of Langton Matravers, so Worth Matravers, Langton Matravers, there's also a Litchett Matravers up and a ways somewhere. I know that the village has shrunk massively since my grandparents moved out. I think what's happened in the village is that as older folk have died, their younger family members who've inherited the cottage have turned it into a holiday let rather than go and live in it themselves. So when my grandparents lived in Langton, there was something like about 2,000 people lived there. I need to go back and look on the census. It was about 2,000. I just looked this morning, not this morning, that after when I'd watched the programme a couple of days ago. The village now only contains 850 residents. It's shrinking, it's all this Airbnb nonsense. So it's really tiny. So that, it's a village. When my grandparents moved from the village, when they got older and they just... I mean, my grandma used to walk everywhere. She'd walk through the fields foraging, she'd walk all the way down into Swanage for the shopping and then walk home again. But obviously as they aged, it just started to be a bit prohibitive. So that's when they decided to move down into Swanage, the town of Swanage. Their house, though, didn't get turned into an Airbnb. Their house was sold to a family who is still there. If you remember, one of the visits I went down with my sister, I just went and knocked on the back door. Hello, anyone home? And it was the same family. So they knew my grandparents. So that was really lovely. Anyway, digressing. So they moved into Swanage. So I looked up Swanage's population and that's 9,000. So it's really quite a small town compared with, and I was thinking about where I live. My village is 28,000 souls. Before anyone says it's not a village where you live, Vivi, the thing about London is almost the whole of London, this was a village, and the next village over was a village, and the next village over that way was a village. It was all separate villages, and it's just that over time, as more and more people came to live in London, in these areas, the villages spread, so this village is spreading this way, this village is spreading this way, and then one day, they butt up next to each other. But as anyone will tell you who lives in a London village, they all have their distinct characters. They are, although we're all part of London, we are kind of really separate in a way. There are great swathes of North London, the North London villages. I haven't got a Scooby about them. Likewise, they wouldn't have a Scooby about me down here in South East London. Yeah, so it was interesting. That programme was great. I highly recommend it. I'm not doing what I was supposed to be doing today. Right. This height went across my knee then, but one knee is a bit naughty this morning. I highly recommend it. Pub Walks with Bill Bailey. I can't wait to watch another episode. I might watch it next weekend. Just back to that village thing, because this is what happens with my brain. I get curious. And I thought, what actually does qualify as a village? So I went online. What did I put into my search engine? What is the difference between a village and a town? And the one thing that came up, it said village, it would be a population of 500 to 2,500. So in my grandparents' day, when it was 2,000, it's a village. I guess when it goes below 500, that's when we would call it a hamlet. And so between Langton-on-Travers and Worth-on-Travers, there is the hamlet of Acton. And it's just a little cluster of houses. But yeah, so a village is a population less than 2,500. The town, what did the town say? The town said 1 to 10, or was it 1 to 20,000 for a town? But then they also went into details about amenities, and I think that's one thing, isn't it? We think of a village as being somewhere that's maybe got a shop and a post office, if they're lucky, and maybe a couple of pubs. Whereas in a town, we would expect much more. So we would expect, say, a GP surgery, many more shops and a variety of shops, etc. So yes, if there are less than 2,500 souls in the place you live in a village. But if there's more than that, you live in a town. So no matter how much you want to cling to the idea that you still live in a village, it's a town. Unless you're in London, and then it is a village again. Us English and our definitions, none of it makes sense. What I was going to do with you right now, but it's clouding over, and I think it might even be about to rain, so I'll just tell you really quickly. Because I'm off out to the post office. Yay! I'm so happy about something that I noticed. Well, I first noticed something was amiss 2 weeks ago. I actually noticed something was amiss a year and a half ago. Our Christmas tree, our community live Christmas tree that's outside the community centre. I can't remember where it was planted, 5-6 years ago. And for the last year and a half, it has been looking so sorry for itself. It's dying. It's been dying for a year and a half. And I think to me, it was obvious. How is it getting any water? Because it's in the smallest, it's been put into the pavement, and there's nowhere to water it. The soil is level with, it's been built up. There's a course of about 3 or 4 bricks, like a planter, but the soil is on level with that. So you pour any water, it just rushes off. So yeah, it's been dying for ages, and I presume because of water. And then, I don't know, the beginning of this year, they put one of those water bags around the trunk. It's like the pear tree that I adopted in one of our parks. They wanted the trees to individually be adopted, so that then the adopter would take care of the tree for 2 years in terms of watering every week for 2 years until it's established. My job is done, that tree is established, it's healthy, it's well, it's lovely. And what they use for that, these watering bags, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's about 2 foot deep. It's kind of wrapped around the tree. The tree's got a space to grow. And it's like a sort of a big sack. It's like a poly sack. And you pour the water into that, and it can take a huge amount of water, and then it slowly drips it out. So here on our clay soil, if you were to put 20 litres of water on that soil, especially in the summer, it would just run off because the soil just dries to concrete. Whereas with these bags, it's a slow drip, 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 drip. So they get a good drink over a few hours. So they added one of those bags to our poorly beleaguered tree. It just didn't do anything. Well, no, it did. It did help, because on the end, so the branches, it all looked brown and dead. And it broke my heart to see it. It's like, it just needs care. Let's have a rota. Let's all as a community make a rota to care for this tree. But it did start to sprout back, so there was green on the end of the branches. But obviously it wasn't enough. So about 3 weeks ago, I popped to the post, because the community centre is right next door to the post office. I popped down, and I was rather dismayed to see a completely empty space. Planter, empty, tree, gone. And I thought, well, I'm not surprised. It was in its death throes. But I also thought, that's it for having a community Christmas tree, because I'm sure there's no money in the community coffers. And lo and behold, about a week ago, I was actually walking down the street when they were doing it. We've got a new tree. It's so beautiful. It's so healthy. It's dark green, dense foliage. It is gorgeous. I was going to take my camera and show you this morning, but I think we're in inclement weather. I'm not going to film out there today. But yeah, so we have a brand new Christmas tree. I think it's even a little bit taller than the old one. I watched it going in. I couldn't stop though, so I haven't checked yet whether have they included a watering device. This is what we need. We need somewhere to put water that's going to hold the water there to release it into the ground rather than wash off into the pavement. I'm going to check that this morning, see if there's some kind of watering device. But yeah, it's we've got a new tree, and then about 3 or 4 days ago, right at the end of November, it got decorated. So we've got baubles again. Yay! I am pleased. I know it's silly, isn't it? Little things, but I just think a community tree, there's something about that. It sort of gives off a message, doesn't it, that you know, we are a community and we care, and we've got a place here to gather together as a community, and just maybe it gives off a message of let's respect our community, let's respect this area, let's respect what we've got, even though we didn't respect the last tree by killing it. But fingers crossed this time we will have many, many more lovely Christmases gathered around our tree, singing carols, freezing cold, with the little pop-up pub giving us free mulled cider again. It's lovely. I'm looking forward to it this year. It's starting to get a bit Christmassy. Right, anyway, that's more than enough natter. Gosh, I don't know where all that came from, but it came. So now I'm going to skedaddle to the post office. You don't need to wrap up because I'm not going to take you out to see the tree because it's looking absolutely rubbish out there. So instead, stay at home, stay cosy, stay doing whatever it is you're doing and be happy at it, and check your bank accounts regularly. Just keep an eye on things so that if there is an anomaly, you can follow up and hopefully get it sorted out quickly and easily. And if you're being charged tax erroneously, get onto that really quickly as well. I can't believe I got a refund in 7 days. Bravo. Thank you. All right, lovelies, I'll see you all again really soon. Yeah, I won't tell you what for. We'll just do it when we do it. Until then, please stay well, stay cosy, stay happy, stay singing around your community Christmas trees. Until the next one, cheerio.